Guest is here. You can start now.
A very good morning to everyone. I, Chaitali Makwana, on behalf of KLE Society, GK Law College, Hubballi, welcome you all to the webinar series on corporate law from 6th to 10th October, organized by GK Law College, Hubballi. Now, I request Professor Srimati Swapna Somayaji ma'am to take over to the introduction. Over to you, ma'am.
Good morning, everyone. I, Swapna Somayaji, lecturer at GK Law College, welcome all the participants to today's webinar hosted by KLE Society's GK Law College, Hubli. I thank everyone for taking the time out of your day to join us for this webinar series on corporate law. It's an immense pleasure to introduce to today's speaker, Srimati Dr. MP Chandrika, who will enlighten us and give us a new insight on legal control of cybercrimes in banking sector in India in a comprehensive way. Dr. MP Chandrika has completed her Masters in Law, Masters in Arts, and Masters in Philosophy. She holds a PhD degree in law on the topic of legal control of e-banking in India. She is presently placed as principal at BVV's SC Nandimat Law College, Bagalkot. Madam has total teaching experience of 20 years at UG level and 14 years at PG level. She is also a voracious and writing enthusiast, and to her credit, her 11 articles are published in international journals and 19 articles are published in national journals. To name a few articles, it includes Changing Dimension of the Concept of Marriage, Ceremony and Valid Marriage Among Hindus, Legal and Precautionary Principles on Conservation of Biodiversity, Surrogacy versus Adoption, the Law and Rights of the Children, Law relating to e-banking in India, Legal Perspective of Banking, Mergers and Acquisition in India, Concept of Intention under Law of Contract, India's Challenge and Approaches towards WTO in the Era of Globalization, Right to Information and Right to Freedom of Speech. Madam has even guided her students in their dissertation work on the topic of transgender, corporate governance, and alternative dispute resolution. Madam has also acted as resource person to many national and state conference seminars on the topic related to e-banking, insurance, women and law, child law, and labor law. At present, Madam is even guiding PhD student on topic of insolvency and bankruptcy code. She is also teaching students on how to use e-journals in research and other activities. To add up to her laurel, she is also a member of Juvenile Justice Board, Bagalkot, member of Editorial Board for International Journal of Law and Legal Jurisprudence Studies. She has been a fellow under the Global Rights for Women for the period of 2 years. She is a chairperson of District Administration Prevention of Sexual Harassment at Workplace Cell. She is a member of District Police Administration Prevention of Sexual Harassment at Workplace Cell. She is member of Samuktakshara, an organization which trains aspirants of UPS exam. With this brief introduction, we will turn the time over to our today's presenter. Yes, ma'am, it's over to you.
Thank you, Swapna ma'am. Before we begin with our session, I request all the participants to use the chat box for the questionnaire, and the same will be taken up at the end so that the session goes smoothly and uninterrupted. Also, I request all the participants to fill the feedback form, which will be released at the end of the session in the chat box itself, and avail e-certificates for the same. Thank you. Now I request our today's resource person, Dr. MP Chandrika ma'am, Principal of SC Nandimat Law College, Bagalkot, to start today's webinar session on topic crimes in e-banking sector. Over.
Thank you, Chaitali. Thank you, Swapna madam. So at the outset, I would like to express my gratitude to my dear friend and the principal of GK Law College, Sharda Patil. I say Sharda Chaudapur, and all the staff members for giving me an opportunity to share my knowledge on the topic on which I did my doctoral degree. And also, a good morning to my teacher, Sudesh sir. Very happy to see you, sir. It encourages me. So the topic today is e-banking. I would like to share my PPT on the screen.
Yes, you can do.
Are you
your
able to see
things.
this?
Not yet.
1 second. Now?
No, ma'am.
Oh my God. Wait. Screen sharing, I will do. Wait. Just a minute. Huh? Now?
Yes, it is visible, ma'am.
Yeah, ma'am.
One second. So I'll be speaking about crimes and e-banking in India. Friends, why e-banking?
Ma'am, we can't hear you, ma'am.
Can't hear me? I'm not unmuted myself.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Yeah. I'm
We
not
can hear
unmuted
you.
myself.
We continue.
I'm sharing my
Yes,
screen.
we can hear you, madam. You
Okay,
can
fine
continue.
then. Shall I continue?
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
please,
continue.
please.
Yes.
Ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
Why this topic? Today we are all on a webinar. We are all using our technology. I was just talking to your faculty members and your principals. As a teacher, neither I am very happy of having my children on the screen, but I would like to have my children in the classroom. But we have found it that today we have to go for technology. And we need to learn. Kalakki takkante kuniyabeku, isn't it? So that's a song in Kannada, a very famous song. Yes, is it fine?
Yeah, it's fine. You carry on. Some disturbance was there, so I muted everybody. It
Okay.
was
Okay, I unmuted myself. It's fine.
Yeah, you please carry on.
So what that's how we have to use our own technology. And technology, what we are into teaching, has entered into all spheres. You see the youngsters, they don't carry cash. They carry only e-wallets. E-wallets, they have the credit cards, they have the debit cards, and wherever they go, either they make a Google Pay or either they use a debit or credit cards. Very fine, good. We are progressing. India has to be known as a developed country, not a developing country. Where in states, if you go and fill your vehicle with a petrol, you need to swipe the card. You can't pay the cash. You're not supposed to pay the cash. So when we need to reach to that level, when we need to say we have to be called as a developed nation, we have to enter into these new techniques. And as I have found, youngsters are more better than us while using the technology. But friends, there is always good and bad things of any invention. So what I will be telling today is not the good things, because you all know about it. Using your e-wallets, swiping your cards, using your Google Pay, using your pay phone, all this. But then I'm going to tell you where you are and what happens exactly in this world. So when we have this technology has not left us in teaching, then it has not left even the financial sector. So we'll be talking about electronic banking. The risk associated with the electronic banking is as good as how the way we use it also. So what is the definition of e-banking? See, I'm not going to go in detail about the introduction parts just to wipe out all the things. I'll be telling you the crimes that will be committed due to use of e-banking and how you have to stand. But to define e-banking, E stands for electronic, as you all know. And banking is defined under the Banking Regulation Act, which says the acceptance of money from the public for the purpose of lending, investment of money, which is withdrawal, check, draft, or otherwise. And electronic banking is nothing but using banking by using electronic devices. Let us not think about this. This definition, what has been said under section 5B, is a very old one, but still can be applied for electronic banking because the word banking is used here. So that's why I put it here. Let us see the crimes that are committed due to e-banking. Friends, use of internet. For is used just to exchange information, for having some web services, for purchasing of goods online, selling of goods online. We also use this internet for navigations, transportations. In a case, a transportation for both domestic as well as international. For all these purposes, we use internet. Communication, a good communication is what we are doing today. Most of us has witnessed from March, due to COVID-19, we are not off to market. We never go to buy things. Instead, we prefer to order online. We prefer to get groceries to all our needs online. This is the day where we all are into www, World Wide Web. Whether you are going for anything, we sit at home and all want to do only one thing, is search our webs and try to fulfill our needs. Talk about transportation. Of course, now we are not traveling by public, most of us, transportation. That is because of COVID-19. But before, even a bus ticket, air ticket were all booked by our web, our net. And how do we transfer the money? We transfer the money through our debit card, credit card. So when we talk about net, communication, or anything, for the payment purpose, we come for e-banking. So when this is one side, while making the e-payments, how careful we have to be there, because the information that we store while transferring the money through electronic modes, that may be through credit cards or anything, debit cards, Google Pay, anything. You know, friends, this information can be misused, or what we say, it can be hacked. What can be hacked? There will be hacking of your identity, or they can use hidden identity and do the frauds. We can see number of cases rising due to blackmailing through the WhatsApp, or mails. So all this is possible only when the person who is doing that crime has got all the information about us. So anyway, use of net has got its pros and cons. So in that way, when we talk about crimes in case of banking, it's called as fraud. You know, friends, fraud is not defined under Indian Penal Code. It is defined under Indian Contract Act. Can we relate the same and say, crime there can be fraud? Sure. Because here when we say fraud, it is related to cheating. That is defined under IPC 419 and 420 of the Indian Penal Code. So we are going to talk about different frauds and identity frauds that are committed due to e-banking. There is a theft that is carried on in e-banking. The theft is known as identity theft. 378 of Indian Penal Code defines what is theft. If we have to use the same definition here, yes, it does suit. It is a theft. That's why we have used the word theft. But not altogether. Not altogether. So, what is theft, if you have to say? It occurs when sufficient information about any person, his identity, is used to facilitate identity fraud, irrespective of whether in the case of individual, the victim is alive or dead. This is defined under the UK law, not under the Indian law. I'm not taken up Indian law because I just want to tell you, this definition suits and tells us how are we robbing the identity of somebody else, using that identity and committing certain crimes. Identity theft, friends, can be of two types. Identity theft means stealing personal information about any person. Stealing personal information about any person. This identity theft is of two ways. One is name identity theft. Name identity theft. Here, what the wrongdoer does is they use your personal information to open a new account in your name. And what type of account they open is not a SB account or a current account. They use this, your personal information, to open credit card account. And sometimes name identity theft is done through mobile phones also. Mobile phones also. Under the name identity theft, they try to get all the information about you. Is it possible? Yes, possible. So when we have this technology, where the payment has become so easy, where our lives have become so simple and easy, we sit at home and one place, we can do whatever we want. In the same way, there are these fraudsters who know how to enter from the back door and take all our things. So name identity theft, where they will check your complete account details and they keep quiet. At times, this does not make any difference. If they get our names, our age, our things, everything. But then if they rob our money from our account or open a credit card account and then take away money from that credit card, the whole of the burden or whole of the thing has to be paid by us. So there, the crime is committed. So if they just open a credit card account, nothing happens. With a spoof of our money from that, by using our identity, our name, then there is a crime committed. Second way of doing this identity theft is account takeover identity theft. It is called as account takeover identity theft. In name identity theft, it is not so serious. Not so serious because it's not easy to open a credit card account from even though they have our information. But account takeover identity theft is more common. And how it is done? This is when the thief uses your personal information to get access to your already existing account. They're not opening a new account. They only access your existing account and typically change your mail address. Because all information related to your bank, your account will be sent by your bank through email, SMS, isn't it? So what they do is change the whole email ID itself. The account is yours, but they change the mail address. And what they do through that is, they either buy online and make a big, large bill which you have to pay. Or they will charge their mobile with a big plan. Or they will do unlimited shopping. They don't take away your money by cash, remember. They are not in the branch. They are not on the cash counter. They don't use. Only with their laptop or desktop sitting in their own place, they'll rob your money. The only way they do this is by changing the mail address, sending information to the banker as though you are operating the account. This is called as account takeover identity theft. Friends, among these, what we said, identity theft, two ways. There are different methods of doing identity theft. First is dumpster diving. When I go on telling you this, you feel almost they're one and the same, but there are slight difference, because why I'm saying this is, if something this happens, you should tell the police people in which way your crime has been committed, so that they can fix among these where they should fit it. The first method of doing the identity theft is dumpsters driving. It is a technique which is used to retrieve information that could be used to carry out an attack on computer network. You are on your net. You opened your bank website, dealing with it. At the moment, somebody else sitting somewhere else has opened their screen. Through that, they access my screen. So there is a screen sharing like I'm doing it now. So whatever I am doing, they are able to see in their screen also. They are able to see in their screen also. This is dumpsters driving. And they attack our computer network. I'll be doing something, I close down, but still that screen will be opened in their laptop or in their desktop, through which they can operate my account. It is just not limited to searching. It is through trash and obvious treasure like access codes and password written down, and they stick a note to it and see that whatever is in my account is transferred to their account. With just one click of a button, it will be transferred. You will never know the amount has been transferred till when an SMS comes from your bank, or you go and check it. So you will be unaware of it till you again open your account and see. And it's so fast, friends. You will not be knowing somebody else is also watching your screen or sharing your screen. With a click of your button, it is gone. And the second one is shoulder surfing. Dumpster diving is very difficult. That is share our screen. So what has to be done when we are sharing a screen? What type of screen are we sharing? We should be careful of that. When we have opened our bank details or the web related to my account, see that on the screen you are never pressed a button called as screen sharing. Or somebody else is seeing, don't accept. Many of us are unaware. We just click a button and there everything is shared, everything is gone. And that's a difficult job, friends, because the person who has opened the screen has to share it, otherwise they cannot get it. Shoulder surfing is entirely different. This is a type of data theft where these cyber criminals steal personal information or confidential information by peeping over the target called as shoulders. You never know they are peeping into you. They are seeing you. They are doing this. The practice is nothing but spying. Continuously a person will be watching when we'll be using, when you will be doing. I'll give an illustration for this. When you go to an ATM center and withdraw money, what do you do after that? Most of us. We just take out the cash and suppose you are asked for printed receipt, that please don't waste the paper, don't ask for that. Anyway, you will get it in your mobile. You want to save trees, say no for the bill. Or else if you have tried for that bill, take your card and then move off. Friends, you do not know what is happening here. There is a shoulder surfing. The card which you inserted before that, a cyber criminal must have entered it. He too has used a card. In the card, a small camera, a small chip is inserted. So carefully we'll take out that card. The chip and the camera is attached on the top of your, where you insert your card. Where you insert your card. And he goes off. After you insert your card has got certain number. You know how many numbers? 12 numbers, 12 digits. Automatically the camera catches it. Automatically camera catches it. Wherever he is sitting, where he has opened either his Android mobile or laptop or desktop, there the number is displayed. So he has got your card number. Is it enough? No. CVV number. You know, whole of your card will be copied. Before you complete your transaction, it will try to grasp with the camera, starts grasping the image of your card. That is not sufficient, friends. He requires your PIN code. At the end, when you type your PIN code. You know, if you have to get your PIN code, it will take few minutes. Some around 5 to 10 minutes is required. See, committing crime is also not so easy. That much of security is always given by our banks, by our technology. So it will require around 5 to 7 minutes to grasp our PIN code after we complete our transaction. So what happens? You press your PIN, finish your transaction, take your card and go away. He gets your PIN after 7 minutes. What has to be done for this? I'll tell you. You can prevent this, and most of us do not know what to do for this. So this is a practice of spying on where a cash dispenser machine or an electronic device. It cannot be done otherwise. Electronic device means it's a ATM. It's a cash dispensing machine means swiping machine. There also you should be very careful. Swiping machine. And then from that they will obtain your personal identification and then the password. That's what they do. It's a very lowest technical attack, friends. It's not a very big thing because they have to insert a chip, the camera and then get all those things. How can you prevent this? First and foremost is, when you insert an ATM for drawing money and finish off your transaction, immediately after that, press 3 times. Either you press cancel or you press clear. Minimum 3 times. I say minimum 3 times you have to press. Because usually the pin will be of 4 digits number. When you press 3 times, 3 digits wipe off. Automatically it will go off. Even if the person wants to get from the other side, it is not possible. Either he will be having only one side, and permutation and combination of 4 is next to impossible. If he had to do that, he can do it from 0 to whatever 9,999. It's not possible. By that time, it is all leaked out. Nobody can do it. The time that is required to smooth off this money is not available after that. So friends, first thing you have to do when you insert a ATM and finish your transaction, press 3 times clear or cancel. So automatically the pin, at least the person will not get it, even if he makes a duplicate card of yours. Second, you should always store the sensitive information about your ATM card or any that you are using in a locked cabinet. Never disclose to people. Never tell them so easily. You should hide information. You see, when you have your passwords, there is an I on the side, which is always marked X. Means you can't see your password. So if anybody wants also, if they can open, they'll not be able to type your password. If it is seen, then everyone can see your password. So never keep the open password. You know it, you type and automatically it will get inserted. So you should hide the information. Then third thing in shoulder surfing and dumpster diving, to prevent it, what you need to do is, whenever you get an email from a banking institution, never click a link which is there inside. Whatever information is there, it is on the screen. They will never give you something like red or green or blue, where they ask you go to that button and click, and so that you can get all the information. Nothing like that. That will be there in your email, because your email itself is protected with your password. So hence they don't give anything to link, any link that you have to press. And if it is given, the banker makes it very clear that go to the particular link and click it and look at the website, whether it's clear or not. URL, what we say, should be clear. The fourth thing is, don't click on eBay links. eBay links. Unless you know that it is related to something you are selling, or else this is a new way of hijacking things. If you are selling or if you are buying something through eBay, don't click through your mail. Because if you do that, your all account details will be stored and that other person can hack it. This is the new way of doing this identity fraud, which was not there till 2018. So this is how it can happen. Change your password every 6 months, friends. It's very easy. Very easy. As I told to you, keep information in a hidden place. So even passwords have to be kept in a hidden place. Your personal diaries have to be kept in a hidden place or in a locked cabin. Every 6 months, you are supposed to change as far as possible your password. When you change the password and when you have a password, remember, it should not be less than 6 words or digits. Suppose you are going to write it as crimes, CRIMES, 6. This is done because minimum 6 is required. If you can do more than this, and remember, it's no problem. So it has to be minimum 6. I'm talking about only letters. With this, I recommend, if you have to be more safer, to use 2 numbers. For example, crimes 2020, don't want Baba, but crimes 19. So that is the more safe. Hacking of your email is not so easy. The last one. For not being a victim of dumpster driving and shoulder surfing is never open an attachment until you are sure about the person who is sending it, or else you know what is inside. If you know, yes, this is what it is and I need to know what is there in this attachment, open it. Otherwise, please do not. Even when the message is or mail is from your bikes. Or if you are having some doubt, call up your banks. Ask them what have you sent. Is it from your side? What is it related to? And then open. If you open an attachment, the attachment will be linked to somebody else. Again, as I said, a laptop or a desktop or something else. Where within fraction of a second, whatever you have stored in your laptop will be transferred to him, including your bank details. So be very careful with that. Never open an attachment unless you are sure about the person who is sending it or the information that is inside that attachment. The third type of identity theft is skimming. This is an action of stealing or embezzling money, especially in small amounts over a period of time. If your large amount is spoofed off or is robbed, you'll come to know immediately because you'll not know, this very big amount, how could it go? I have not done anything. What if sometimes today 20 rupees is gone, tomorrow 30 rupees is gone? We don't care. Our parents have lakhs of rupees, huge salary. 20, 30, no, Baba, I might have spent somewhere or I might have given somewhere. Or we don't look at the SMS that comes from the bank. They will be sending you. Even if 20 rupees is withdrawn, they will be sending you messages. We ignore because it's 20 rupees. The person, 20 rupees you may think it is big, but he may steal even 5 rupees, 6 rupees, 3 rupees, 4 rupees. And he will be doing this for a big length of time. Big length of time. This is called a skimming. And you'll never know unless more than 1/4 of the amount or half amount is gone from your account. This action of fraudulently copying credit or debit card details and swiping on the devices is also called as skimming. They take the information and then they rob slowly. I told you about the ATM, how when you insert, you have a small camera inserted through which all your details are copied and a duplicate card is created and then all your money is spoofed off. In skimming also, ATM can be used. It is called as ATM skimming. Small amount, see, they copy your card and they don't do it immediately. Over a period of time, they go insert the money and then they take 100 rupees, 200 rupees and they go off. This way it is gone. Then comes public available information. We all have our Aadhaar card, so it is available information, my name, my thing. If I just tell you my ID of that number, you can get all my information. It's very easy and it's done for the good purpose. Using this publicly available information, many times fake IDs are created. Through fake IDs, an account is opened. Friends, to open an account, I hope all of you have an account. We know there are certain formalities that has to be completed, which is there in our law, which has been instructed to all the banks. First, they give you an account opening form. They ask what? Someone to say who you are, who is having an account in the bank or who is well-known person in that particular place and all these things. Very traditional banking style, friends. Today, when you go to HDFC Bank and ICICI Bank, nobody will ask you introduction like this. Simply they will open an account. Simply they open account because they want number of account holders. Recently, when I opened an account in a private bank, I was surprised. I just went, I said, no, I just want to have an account. You know, I'll be doing this just to know how things are going on in this sector. And then they said, yes, ma'am, do you have your Aadhaar card? I said, yes. Then they asked me, do you have your photograph? I said, no. Then they said to me, you have your PAN number, then PAN card. I said, yes. They asked me those two things. Within a fraction of a second, my account was opened. I said, don't you need an introduction? No, ma'am, these all are gone. Traditional way, if you go to our nationalized banks, even today, they will give you a form and ask you to get introduction from the existing account holder. But that is not done. See, friends, doing all these things, being very fast, we are paying waste for all such types of crimes. Now, my details is available with that bank. Of course, I closed that. I said, no, I don't want. And then with this information, whatever is available, they go create my fake Aadhaar card number, fake PAN card, and open an account in my name. So they open it. And then through that, they rob all my money. It's possibilities all there. But here it's a bit difficult because my money has to be transferred to that account. All this lot of procedure is there. So this public available information as such will not work for them to commit the crimes. Very few instances have come. Very few. Then the fifth type of identity theft is mail theft. I told you, your mails can be stolen. Your name, address, social security, phone number, email address, credit card, bank card account, pre-approved credit card account, everything can be stolen. Through your only thing is mail ID. Of course, it requires a lot of brains, not so easy, but they do it. So what should be done for this? Never click on a website till you are sure that is bank's website. They claim this is website of State Bank of India, but then it will not be so. How to make sure this is their website or not is, see, any website when you open, what comes on the top and it is www. What color it is? Just remember that. If there is a change in that color, don't open it. That too through your mail. If you open through your mail, automatically your mail address will be stolen. And remember, every bank account has your mail ID. And it's very easy for the thief to steal all your money through your email address. So the sixth way of doing is changing your address now and then is also a very good thing. Now friends, spoofing. You know, bank crimes, dumpster diving, shoulder surfing, skimming are there. But more prominent is spoofing and phishing. What is spoofing? It's an act of disguising as someone and stealing the money. Act of disguising as someone and stealing. You know, friends, what will happen in spoofing? My cell number, I am not operating my cell now. Someone else can call with my number to somebody else. So easy it is. So easy it is. And when the other person receives the phone, it will be as though I am calling that person. 9740-750-929. Other person's phone screen is showing the same number. The person who is called is not me. It is your principal, madam. This is spoofing. So when call comes, you feel the bank is calling because The number displays it as HDFC Bank. But HDFC Bank has not called you. This is spoofing. You book a ticket and then you cancel it. So again a call comes asking you, why did you cancel? This is a story of spoofing which my friend has experienced. I would like to share that with you people. My friend booked a ticket in VRL bus from Bagulkot to Pune. Then immediately after some 10 minutes, it came out that your booking has been denied, your booking has not been done, completed. But by this time, he had already paid because the transaction showed make payment and he made a payment and 880 rupees he had paid. But from there, a message came, your ticket is not booked, all these things. And we will return back your money to your account. This fellow said it is not booked, so maybe the seats are full. So I will try to go tomorrow, and he was just thinking about it. By the time the call came, the caller ID asked him, sir, you had just booked VRL bus to Pune with this phone number, with this phone. He said, yes. You didn't get a seat. He said, no. Sir, just now you can check your mail. I have sent a link. Click on the link because something went wrong with our side, our place. So we could not book it. Seats are open. So you just click on the link, sir. So we'll book your ticket. This fellow was happy. Okay, anyway, I wanted to go. I was worried how to go. And he opened his mail and clicked on the link that was given to him. Friends, believe it or not, within next 5 minutes, 8,800 rupees was transferred from his bank account to somebody else's account. He gone. The money was gone. So because just he clicked the wrong attachment which was sent to him, link which was sent to him. This is spoofing. Very rampant now. Many of us don't even give a second thought when such call comes. And we just go on doing this. You know, friends, at least this was to click a link. Theft can be like this. Many educated people go on doing this. You see, when nowadays caller ID, caller tune comes, what? Banker vanchaneಯಿಂದ ನಿಮ್ಮನ್ನು ರಕ್ಷಿಸಿ. ನಿಮ್ಮ OTP ಅನ್ನು share ಮಾಡಲು ಯಾರು ಕೇಳುವುದಿಲ್ಲ. Yet what we do is we don't remember these things. Reminder is given by the banks, by the all the service providers not to open, not to give your OTP, etc. But yet we do it. You know how it happened? Educated man, if I have to say, not just educated, he's a legal person to whom this happened. It's spoofing. Early morning at 7 o'clock, call comes to that person and says, sir, we are finding something wrong with your account. Money is being transferred. We want to block your account immediately. This person got scared. Oh my God, I put so much of money in my account and the bank is telling me it's being transferred and they are calling from Chennai. Of course, the bank's head office is at Chennai. So then they asked, what to do? Sir, nothing, sir. Within a second, there will be an OTP that will come to you. Please share that OTP with us. So what we can do immediately is block your account. See, for a person, if money is going to go away, we are so scared, we don't, as I said, we don't even think twice. And within a fraction of a second, OTP came to his SMS. There was again the caller. Caller asked him, what is the OTP? And he immediately told the OTP. Then the person said, don't worry, sir, we are here for you. Your account will be safe. We have already entered and blocked it, don't worry. He was happy. It was morning 7:30, was reading the newspaper. He said, I'm safe. Okay, good. Next, within half an hour, another call comes to him. The caller asked, sir, are you buying so much of a product? Because your history shows at a time you are not buying so much of a product. Already you have spent 20,000 on different type of products. Are you buying it by mail? He was surprised. Said, no, I'm not buying anything. I'm just sitting here. I'm not doing. Then they said, sir, there is a theft from your account. Had somebody called you? Had somebody asked you some information? He said, yes. Morning, a person from Chennai, from your bank had called. He said, nobody will call from our bank, sir. Don't worry. Such things don't come. Then what did you do, sir? He said that I had shared an OTP, which they said to me, if I share, they will block my account so that money is not spoofed off from my account. See, so simple it is, and so easy theft it has been done. Friends, of course, the bank immediately rose because it was 8 o'clock in the morning, blocked the account, and the next day he had to come. By that time, around 20,000 of the amount was transferred for buying different products, online products. And so they could not trace the thief. This was in 2012. Remember, after 8 years also, they're not able to trace the thief. We do not know who it is because he has not transferred that money to his account or somebody else where we can see, yes, this is the person over there, this account has been transferred. He has done online businesses. And if you say, madam, where that product reached, at least that address we can trace. No, that was also not possible. Fake addresses were given. But the person would go and collect the things and it's going on. Spoofing. So I am disguising myself as somebody else and then robbing your money. So you cannot find me at all. Not possible to find me at all. This is a communication from an unknown source. And it is communication to a known source it goes. And that source is trusted source. It will show you, yes, it's from bank or something else. As I said, it's very much easy, very much possible. This can apply to emails also again, friends. It can apply to phone calls, as I said, from my cell number, somebody else makes a call, yet it shows that I am calling that. So phone calls. Websites also possible. It is more technical. And it is called as computer spoofing. It is done through IP address or address resolution protocols or domain name system servers. They make a malicious website and make you to believe that this is our website and very easy, very good and all, and then spoof off the money. See, friend, this is one way. Where I told one is stealing of your money, asking you to click on the link and then get it. Second is asking you to share the OTP, through that spoofing of your money. Third type of spoofing is done through malicious websites. Create a website of their own and it will, if you open the website, you will feel as though it is a bank website, but it will not be so. That type of websites are open. Through that they make a transaction. And then there is a caller ID spoofing, that is from whose number it has come, the call, you will never know. Friends, how to detect spoofing then? I can't stop using my card. I can't stop someone from stealing my phone number and calling as though it is me who is calling. Now, how to detect? When you open that, any website, you see a lock symbol or a green bar. If there is no green bar or a lock symbol in a bank website, that means it is a fake website. Please don't open it. Don't make any transaction. First, do not open such website. Suppose you open also, don't make any transaction or don't show yourself into it. And don't open any website which does not start or does not have HTTPS. www is okay. But if there is nothing like HTTPS, please don't open such websites. They are hacked websites. They are created websites. There are malicious websites. Then, friends, if you are making payments, etc., through your cell phones or your laptops, anyway, electronic way, you should keep in mind, you should use one device which is there called as password manager. Please keep this always open, password manager. Without this, don't make any banking transaction. I recommend not to make any type of communication itself when you do not have this password manager, because cyber crimes, many type of cyber crimes can be committed, not only related to banking, if you do not have a password manager. So hence it is advisable, especially for the financial transaction, to have a password manager. A third thing, friends, you have to remember how to detect. If you have stored your mail ID and password in your either laptop or your cell or your desktop, once you open it, it will automatically open. It will again not ask you your user ID. Sometimes not even your password, because if you are locked your laptops with your own password, it will not ask your password also. Despite this, whenever you open it up, automatically opens. A time has come when the other thing is asking you to type your user name and then password. Please do not go for it. That means there is spoofing. It's fake. It's fake. So be careful not to enter again your user ID and password if you have stored that in your device and it is asking you to again enter. So don't do this. Now, how to protect from spoofing? How to detect? I said to you. How to detect? How to protect yourself? In every device, there is something called a spam filter. Always turn on the spam filter, especially when you are doing a financial transaction. See that your spam filter is open. When a call comes from an unknown person, it will start showing in your cell phone what? Spam. Don't accept it easily and don't talk more than 2 minutes. If the other person is a fraudster, to gather the information from your cell, it will require more than 4 minutes. It will require more than 4 minutes. The caller is showing, caller ID is showing many times we think that something new has come, especially youngs, is it something which I want to have it or something like this? At that time, yes, at that time, this possibility is there. This possibility is there. So don't click on links or open attachment in any emails. Log in through a separate tab or windows whenever you are operating any website. Don't open in the same windows. Say, go to the right click on the mouse and say, open with a new tab or open with a new windows. That you are saving yourself. So when you find there is something fishy in your email transaction that you are doing, please pick up your cell phones. Your cell phone rings. And the call comes immediately from the bank. Call comes immediately from the bank. So you should be very careful of it and pick it up. And friends, we all do all these things, have our all devices. More importantly is to have a very good cyber security program. Antivirus we all have. Through antivirus, yes. So having a cyber security program in our devices is always advisable. Suppose you are doing the transactions through your laptop, your devices. If you are going to the branch, there is no problem. But most of us are not going today. We all are under social distancing. So We do not go. We all are doing it with our devices. So invest good in a good secure cyber security program. The last one, of course, there are many friends. I have to go on telling you. But I feel these are enough to know the cyber crimes. I mean, even through e-banking is the phishing. Phishing is stealing with multiple identity. I show myself for a different person in a different way. And I send fraudulent emails. And that emails, you will find what you know. As though I am what I am showing you. I am what I am showing you. So phishing is a very common way again doing it. Sometimes there is overhead thing of spoofing and phishing are regarded as one and the same. Yes, it's okay. It's okay if you feel it so. Overlapping is there. So, but preference is given for phishing and also, but for spoofing, anything that can include. In a phishing, the different is only there will be multiple people doing it. Spoofing, there will be only one. Friends, when I went on giving you different type of crimes, with that, I gave you certain precautions that you have to carry on, like how you have to deal with your ATMs, how you have to not to disclose OTPs, how to not to disclose your emails, passwords, etc. And how you have to take the precautions. But still, I tell you, some more which you have to remember is foolproof passwords. Foolproof passwords. Password, as I already told you, should never be less than 6 digits plus 2 numbers. Plus 2 numbers. So my email ID is Chandrika Kurandwad 72. See, I put that 72. Just the word should be there. @gmail.com. This is mail ID. So anyone can get it. The same way should your password be. 6 letters, 2 numbers. I know it's big, friends. And somewhere, some banks ask only 4 digits. There you should be very careful. You ask your banks to have it for 6 digits. Password 6 digits means more protected. And what I feel sometimes thing is, even nationalized banks have got only 4-word passwords to open their websites or something like this. It's actually where the hacking takes place. So anyway, try to have as far as possible 6 digits. Always, one of my senior used to tell me, why do you have this type of gadgets? Why don't you at least look at the gadget after a span of 90 minutes? 90 minutes is a very long time. He was telling me, why not in an hour once? He would say, see, check it, which shows last logged on. Suppose you are not logged itself and it is showing what you had just logged up half an hour before. There is something fishy. And when you see that there is something fishy, please, friends, be very careful about it. Keep your system updated. It will show you whether it is your cell phone or your anything. It will ask you for updating your system, and please go on doing that. Don't ignore that. And many people, what they do is they don't have laptops or desktop. They go for cyber cafe and do their financial transaction to that, because we cannot go to banks. Bank is a very big queue, and we are going to have a social distancing. We are under Corona. And then what they do, they go for a cyber cafe. There they open their account and transfer it. Cyber cafes are very dangerous. Please, as far as possible, don't go for public access. And the last, as I said, follow bank instruction. I was again repeating the caller ID that comes out. Banking banchane tammannu rakshisi calling. Because banks never ask you to do a transaction for what it is not supposed to. So you should follow the bank instruction and be very careful whether the mails have come from the banks, SMS have come from the banks, and then go accordingly. Friends, one part is I was telling you how the crimes are committed. Of course, I can just say I haven't covered everything. Lot more to tell you people, but there is a restriction on time. So let me come and tell you how it is done under the law. If something like this happens, what you need to do. There are certain, you asked me, day before yesterday in the Deccan Herald newspaper, because this month by the Karnataka government is taken as cyber security month. So they are organizing some programs to train the government officials regarding the cyber security. Most of are using it. So when this is the case in the Deccan Herald, it had come, where it said that every year there is an increase in the FIRs that is being filed because of some cyber crime that is committed. Especially more than 60% is the e-banking crimes, which I just told you. Yet we are not able to sort out many things. I gave you one example whose money went away, 2012 cases filed, even till today it is going on. They haven't caught the theft. Number of such things goes on every day. Person very intelligent, very careful about his money in the bank, still his money is poofed off. And they try to find, it shows that the money has gone to some bank in Singapore or somebody in Singapore. It's not like that, friends. Their location will be completely here in India. They can do that. I told you, no spoofing is possible. I can sit here and I can show I am in America. So that is how they do it. And amount is transferred. Problem is, in the traditional crime, we can catch the thief very easily because we know the location. He can't go above this jurisdiction, that is India. And suppose they go, it becomes something different. That is international criminals. So what are the problems here? Why are we not able to do that? There they said only every year, if 100 cases are filed, 100 complaints are filed, only 19% of the case is solved. 19, not 90. 81% still remains as it is. Because tracking the origin of the crime is a very, very difficult aspect. It doesn't have any borders. From anywhere, any person can do it. So that is a big problem for the investigation. Second is lack of cyber security experts. I was telling you all these things. Friends, I know very well. Before I told all these things, many of us will not be knowing such things happen. Easily we'll be using our e-wallets. Banks themselves lack these cyber experts. The person who has to investigate is none other than the police, lacks all the knowledge concerned with the cyber security. Third, friends, I should stress this saying, shortage of skilled cyber crime fighters. Manpower shortage is extreme in India. In the traditional crime itself, police are not able to catch the criminals. It takes around 3, 4, 5, 6 years. I was a member of a juvenile justice board. There was one case, a boy was brought before me when immediately by the first appointment. And he was just 8 years old at that time. We had sent him to observation home. Within a month, he escaped from that home. Then, do you know when the police caught him? I was Juvenile Justice Board member for 7 years. On the 7th year, my term was going to end. It was an extension time. It will be always for 3 years. Second term, third, because new members were not appointed, so my time was extended. And 2 more months were left. At that time, the boy again was brought before me. He was at that time not 8, he was some 7 years and 3 months something. So when he came before us again, it was 17 years and 3 months something. So this is how it happens in traditional crime. What do we expect from this type of a crime, where they do not know who is the criminal and where does he stay, where is his location? This requires a lot of skill, and that is lacking in our people. And you know, the fourth problem is there on the investigation is there is use of pirated softwares, which is a big challenge to catch these criminals. And then we called it a Tarzan, etc., etc. So many things we call it. So these type of softwares are used. Last not to say, friends, lack of knowledge of law. Last week, when Shada madam called me, I did not pick her call, but then again I made her called her back. I had gone to teach criminology to the newly appointed jailers, jail officers. They were under training. I gave a lecture of 1.5 hours. After about half an hour, 50% of the people slept off. After an hour, I asked them, I'm telling you so many things. Why are you not able to hear me? Of course, they were having class from 10 o'clock. That was a different aspect. Because there is no examination. Ultimately, they are appointed. It's a training only for 6 months. After all, after that, they will be where? As a jail officers. In some jail, they will be deputed. So they don't want to gain this knowledge of law. Whenever I get a time, I always recommend the government, please, at least police officers, PSIs, at least PSIs, appoint those people who have a graduation in law. There is a minimum knowledge of law which is required, but that doesn't happen. And this is a very big thing, where these criminals are not traceable, and where will they find? And if they find also, under which law are they going to register the complaint and what they are going to do? They are not aware of it at all. Friends, when this happens, what has to be done? I gave you an example of a person whose money was stolen through OTP. You know, I told you, if you remember, he was a person who had enough knowledge of law. He went to register a complaint to a police station, and the police officer there, station master, station officer, denied to file a complaint. He said, what? Hang register ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದ್ರಿ? ಅವ್ರ ಅಪರಾಧಿ ಯಾರು ಅಂತ ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತ್ರಿ? ಎಲ್ಲದರ ಅಂತ ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತ್ರಿ? ಈಗ ನೀವ್ ಹೇಳಿಕತ್ತೀರ ಅಂತ ನಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತ್ರಿ? These were so many questions that was posed to him. You won't know. He sat 3 hours. He said, basically, I am an advocate. And still you are asking me so many things. He said, sir, we do not have any such type of a complaint. And where to write the complaint, I am not understanding. I was pursuing my PhD at that time. The person came in front of me. I said, what happened? He told me this story. I told him, sir, you would ask them to file a complaint under section 154 of CRPC. Section 154 of CRPC talks about filing of complaint, any complaint. What is getting wrong, friends? So what you have to do, now they are thinking of establishing cyber police station. It is not completely cyber police station. The police people don't only investigate cyber crimes. They investigate all traditional crimes. With that, they investigate cyber crime. So this is called a cyber police station. 2019, before this lockdown, Karnataka government had announced that they would open 8 cyber police station in Bangalore. Name 8 police station as cyber police station. Naming doesn't work out. People in that have to be trained. How they have to draft the complaint, that's very important, friends. So What you need to do is go to the police station. Tell him, no way. It might not be in your this one, but I tell you register the complaint under section 154 of CRPC. What all you have to do? Filing the complaint. If the police station, police officers denies, go to your commissioner and write a written complaint to head of the cyber crime cell in the police station. That's it. Then if even commissioner denies or he is not in the place, you can file the complaint before the city's judicial magistrate also. Police people, if they deny, they say, we don't know what to do, such cases are not never come up. So you can go directly to the city judicial magistrate. No, friends, such type of crimes, cyber crimes, related to, let it be related to banking or any type, are cognizable offenses. It means there is no requirement of any warrant to arrest a person or investigate into matter. So ask him to investigate into the matter. That's it. The FIR which is going to be filed by this, under this type of a crime, is called as zero FIR. Zero FIR means wherever the crime has committed or wherever the criminal is, wherever the victim is, it can be filed anywhere. Suppose I'm in Bangalore today. Some of my money has been spoofed off. I immediately come to know. I ask my bank to block my account. That is first thing that should be done. Huh? You should ask your bank to block your account. Then there and then it's there itself. I can go to any police station in Bangalore and file a complaint. So the bank is in Bagalkot. I need not come to Bagalkot and file it. I can just file a complaint in Bangalore itself. So that is why it is called as zero FIR. Zero FIR. Friends, many of the police people say this is a theft, madam. So we will we'll write FIR under section 378, which defines what is theft. If they do that, friends, remember, and the criminal is caught, he will be punished for 3 years imprisonment or fine or both. Tell the police officer, no way, not under IPC. Please file a complaint under Information Technology Act. Information Technology Act from sections 43 to 66 deals with all these type of crimes which I have just defined, told which type of crimes can be committed through e-banking. Because here they talk about the data theft, identity theft, which I just told you, identity theft, and destroying information, damaging computers. All this identity theft is defined under section 66C of the Information Technology Act. You know, friends, what is the punishment under this? It is 5 lakh rupees, 5 lakh rupees and 3 years imprisonment. Both. Either it is not there. So in 378 of IPC, if they take it as theft, either you will be punished for 3 years imprisonment or you will be fined something, or that is discretion of the judge, where he will say both. So, but if they say in the Information Technology Act, file the case under the Information Technology Act, it will be 5 lakh rupees plus 3 years jail, both. So ask him to do that. Ask him to do that. So that's a must, where you have to inform the police officer, please do this. Please do this. Yes, I know I'm getting late. I would like to go for my last thing, that is salami fronts. Friends, all this so easy. There is a legal way of committing fraud. If you go, please check your all passbooks or e-statements. You will have some interest credited for the amount you had kept it as deposits in SB account, current account, anything. The interest will come around, for example, 33 rupees 13 paisa. Suppose you want to close your account. How much will your bank pay? They'll pay you 33 rupees. Can they give you 13 paisa? We don't have 10 paisas, we don't have 5 paisas, we don't have 2 paisas, we don't have 1 paisa. So they cannot give us. What happens to this money? Nobody has questioned this, friends. Legal way of committing fraud by the bank. I'm not talking about the other criminals. This is by bank. This 13 paisa goes into the pocket of the banker. When I was doing my doctoral degree here, I went to certain banks to find out. Of course, they were reluctant. They did not disclose me. But I found out these 13 paisa is shared between the cashier and the bank manager. In a bank, how many accounts will be there? More than lakhs sometimes. And Bangalore banks in crores, millions. None of us bother about 3 paisa, 4 paisa, 5 paisa, 13 paisa. Ultimately, when they do it, they spoof out this 13 paisa, 3 paisa, 4 paisa. Now. We feel what they are going to do with this small money. Friends, or from lakhs of accounts, this is done. And what amount they get is again in lakhs. This is not small amount. This is called as salami fraud. How to prevent this is a very big question for the government. I don't think so. It's so easy or it's so much possible. Whatever can be done by our Reserve Bank of India. Reserve Bank of India, when it comes to e-banking, I deny there is any particular law for this. Information technology is used, not specifically. Reserve Bank of India is giving them notifications to all the banks, how they have to work on this technology and banking, and then training them on technology. But yet, friends, nothing happens. Nothing happens. What can be done? ಎಡು ಬೀಳೋದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಕೆಳಗೆ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಡೆಯೋದು ಬಹಳ ಸೂಕ್ತ. It's not possible. It's better we take care of ourselves. I don't ask you to stop walking. I don't ask you to stop using e-banking. But then be careful. I've given you some of the precautions that you have to carry on for these things. That's what you can do. And nothing more than this. And a few law things which I said to you about how the complaint has to be filed. Friends, your police people will not be knowing. Most of them will not be knowing. Please see to that your complaint is filed under Information Technology Act and not under having the IPC sections in that complaint procedure. Only then you will be able to get justice. Otherwise, it's a very difficult job. Very difficult job. So it's not just a thing. I just given you some precautions which you need to carry on and go with the technology. I express my gratitude to my friend, principal of GK Law College, Sharda Madam, her staff, all the participants. Hope I have done justice to my topic. Thank you one and all.
Thank you so much, Chandrika. I think there are a couple of questions.
Yeah, sure.
Hello.
Swapna, yeah, start.
Hello.
I think before we begin, there is one girl who is raising hand since long. Soumya, shall we ask her to ask question? I'll ask her to unmute herself.
Yeah, sure. That will be good.
Yeah. 1 second. Is she gone, Soumya?
Yes, madam. I think she left.
Okay, she was raising her
I
hand.
too saw that. I thought I will reply to her later. Very bad. I did not answer her question.
She's not there. So, Sapna, you can start with the questions.
Yes, madam. Madam, the first question is from Anirudh sir. So his question is, with the new swapping service included in the credit card, what security measures are taken in order to protect the interest of the consumers?
See, when it comes to credit cards, banks have woken up. It's not so easy. Even if you use that in the swiping machine, it is secured. It is 99% secured. 99% secured. Bad luck only it is sometimes if the banks are not very careful about the things. It may happen so that money is pooped off from your credit card. That's why I tell you, friends, when you're swiping your card, when any shop, it's a credit card or a debit card, make sure that that swiping machine is proper. And you don't display your PIN. Don't display your PIN. Press the PIN, immediately press the green button. Don't give the machine in his hand to press the green button. Press the green button, then immediately what happens? Things are done. If you give him the green, press the green button, then there is all possibility of stealing your PIN code.
Your question is effectively answered, sir. Ma'am, we'll go to the next question.
Yeah.
It is by Sri Shaila, whether cryptocurrency is a scam and whether Indian regulatory and banking system is equipped with effective measures and technology concerns to regulate the same.
See, cryptocurrency is an entirely different topic, friend, whatever you have asked me. So, yes, our law has not not accepted it. Banks are not accepting cryptocurrency and all those things. Maybe in the coming days, because it is transacted in dollars. If you can see that, it is transacted in dollars and not in rupees.
Can we go to the next question, madam?
Yes, Swapna.
Hello.
The next question is whether zero FIR provision is available for special situations or is it available for the all offenses, madam? Like in cyber crimes?
No, not all offenses. Not all offenses. Whatever I define to you, cyber crimes only for cyber crime. It means we do not know from where the crime has been committed or who has committed the crime. That is possible only in cyber crime. In other type of traditional crimes, we always know. You can see, for example, there is a robbery in your house at Hubli. So they know it is at Hubli. So the criminal was in Hubli or the victim is at present in Hubli, like this. But whereas in cyber crimes, you do not know where is that person who has done the robbery. So a zero FIR only in cyber crime.
The last two questions, madam. The last two questions is whether IT Act is effective in taking care of all the security concerns that exist in our banking sector.
No, I'm sorry to say this. If I have to tell you all these crimes and what is happening, friends, you won't believe. Recently also, when there were some reported cases coming out, there was this Information Technology Act as is absolutely not enough to take care of our e-banking crimes. That's what I had recommended in my thesis also, and I actually sent my this all recommendation to the ministry also. Probably there is a problem until we build our own security. Of course, from when I did and till this day, there is a lot of improvement when banking securities, but yet it is not enough. When we see the rising crimes, especially coming to e-banking, no, it's not at all there. Even our Information Technology Act is not sufficient for that.
Madam, one more question the same teacher has asked, whether a Wi-Fi activated credit card, you need to just flash the card to the machine or what it is question. If it is a Wi-Fi activated credit card, where you need to flash it. Like I asked you about the first question, if the swapping services are included in the credit card, what's the security measure that is given in order to protect the interest of the consumer?
Correct.
So the question is whether you have to...
Yes. See, for this, as I said to you, we do not have exclusive law for curtailing these type of e-banking crimes. There's no special law. But now and then, Reserve Bank of India has been issuing notifications where it is asking the banks to utilize certain security softwares through which, yes, there is a lot of protection. despite this, you see, we make an intervention to stop this type of a crime. There is a security for this type of a crime. Very soon there is a new type of a crime for which there is no software. Now, what two these things you are swiping in our credit cards and this, for both there is a security. Software security is there. And again, when I tell you this, all banks don't insert the same type of softwares. All have got different type because that's possible. So some use Zoom, some use Google like this. And there are good things and bad things of both the things, possibility. So when it comes to bad things, if the other person comes to know, yes, this is what I can do. This is what I can do. Yes, he will hack it. He will hack it.
Madam, I'm so sorry. Thing is, for Wi-Fi enabled credit cards, where I just flash the credit card on the machine. So anyone, the thing is right now, if I buy anything that is below 2,000 rupees, there is no PIN generated. So anyone, when I'm carrying the credit card in my wallet, anyone can come close to me with the machine, and he can do that. So what steps can be taken in order to not fall prey for such activities?
Sure. That's where we have to be careful. That's what I told to you. See, when you are doing this type of using this credit card, you are doing through your mail. Whatever you are buying, let it be little less than 2,000 rupees. You are doing through your mail or website, isn't it? Isn't it? So
no, madam, I'm talking about offline shopping, not necessarily online shopping. I'm talking about offline shopping.
Offline shopping,
Where
what
I go
you do is using your credit card
to the brick and mortar store. Yes. At the that is a point of sale, where if some person is carrying a
lot of
swipe machine.
A lot of break.
Hello, am I audible, ma'am?
Yeah.
Hello. See, I have a credit card which is Wi-Fi enabled. Hello.
Yeah, you can
tell me.
Hello.
Yeah, your question is not clear. You please tell your question.
Yeah. What if I am carrying a credit card which is Wi-Fi enabled, and there is a fraudster who carries a machine just behind me?
Yes.
Right. He can hold the machine close to my wallet, and then he can just go away with 2,000 rupees. So, how to avoid such instances?
See, that's where I told to you. What? Whenever you are using your debit card or credit card, be very careful. You have to see people around you. As I told you, how to prevent. This is called as shoulder surfing. This is what I told. Shoulder surfing. They'll be behind you. Will not be knowing. So what you need to do? They'll be carrying something. How close is that person? How close can he catch you? How close can he catch you? See, when you enter an ATM, it's always written. The watchman tells somebody else is inside. You don't go back. Don't go. Another person he will not allow inside. This is what it is, friends. So see that nobody is behind me. At least to certain distance. The range will not be, Wi-Fi range will not be too big. Remember that. To catch all the things, details. The details are very nicely secured. It is encrypted. If it is encrypted, there is if it is in a distance, they cannot catch it. So that's why I am telling you, friends, be careful.
Madam, I have one small doubt. Hello? Yes. Hello. Madam, whether audible?
Yeah.
I have a small doubt about regarding banking. See, when there was a note banning and during the COVID, this kind of phone pay, Google Pay, kind of the apps, they have given the shelter to everyone.
Yes.
But my question is how this is safe, and is it good to keep the money in the wallet of that app, because there will be option. You can take Ola, you can take Bounce, you can take Phone Pay, Google Pay. Is it
Yes.
safe to keep that amount in that wallet, or is it necessary to keep in the bank through otherwise
Sir,
we
I
can
tell you
transfer
one
to
thing.
UPI? Yeah.
It's very safe. Don't bother about that. If I'm saying all these things, these types of, that's why I stop you from walking. You should not fall. If you should not fall, you should see what is there near your feet. If there are thorns and you keep your feet on it, they will stick to you, isn't it? And they will prick you, isn't it? So, but we cannot stop walking. In the same way, what I'm saying, these are all secure. Don't bother about that. Use your e-wallet, but be cautious.
But when it comes to the wallet, madam, I observed about this phone pay.
Yeah.
When I want to transfer,
See,
there
sir.
is no such.
See, sir, the wallet, if there are no security, please be careful, because either OTP comes or something else has to be there. Otherwise, doing transaction in that is a very difficult, very dangerous thing. I recommend not to go for it.
Okay.
I recommend not to go for it. Okay? Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Swapna, any more questions? I think Akshita has one more question.
Yes, madam. Yes.
One more question is there a need for specific legislation with respect to e-banking? Because we have a very weak security system. So is there a need to have a specific legislation to control e-banking frauds?
As I have found it, madam, yes, true, we need to have a legislation, but there are a number of legislations already. What they feel is we'll be able to deal with the problem with Information Technology Act, which is already there, and the Indian Penal Code. Still, my recommendation, after looking at these two legislation also, I feel, because the number of crimes are committed are increasing. When we are talking about security also, see, sir was telling about e-wallets. There is a locking system in e-wallets also. When I open my Google Pay, I have a locking system in. So security is done by the banks, yet it is not, they are not able to control it. And you know, ultimately who is liable? Question comes, who is liable for it? And what the law has said is the banks are liable. Banks should have a proper security. So banks have to pay the customer. But then there is one thing which we have to remember is contributory negligence. Suppose I myself tell the OTP to somebody else, or I myself tell the my account number to somebody else. I myself show somebody else my password. Who is liable? Then the banks are not liable to pay. So this is what happens. Of course, we need to do more research in this area. And that is not only for the legal people, but also technical people who have to join hands for this. So there has to be a person who is expert in computers and the person who must be expert in law. So there is one degree called as BTech LLB, Kharagpur. So they are teaching this. The main aim of these people is to strengthen these things. So that, yes.
Yeah, I think there are a number of cyber forensics and cyber security certificate as well as PG diploma courses also for everything.
No, but when we look at these type of crimes, again, you know, we are doing it. What about police people who really has to investigate the thing? Investigating officer do not know anything about these laws. That is what is bothering me. Unless we don't train them, it is not just training in laws. It is training them technically. Only then we will be able to get a justice in this case. Otherwise, no.
I think there is one more question with respect to this only, that what is the procedure prescribed to whenever a cyber complaint is filed? Is there a clear procedure prescribed to handle this kind of situation?
I already told this procedure. Complaint has to be filed in any police station, okay, as far as possible designated cyber police station. If that is not there, any police station, but those people will not be knowing what to do, how to file a complaint. Please tell them to file a complaint under section 154 of the CRPC. That filing of procedure is there and those people know how to file FIR. Only thing what you have to tell them is please file it as 0 FIR. 0 FIR. That is not there in 154. And then you give them the documents pertaining to the operation of the crime. It is 6 months passbook, 6 months transaction in your passbook, first thing. And then your address proof, your bank address, which you are given, that you should give it. So if giving all these things, then file a complaint saying that my money has been stolen and please recover this money and give me. The rest things will be taken care of those police people. And I will tell you, friends, most of the police station will deny you for filing the complaint. It is a headache for them. Very big headache for them. And yes, if they deny, go to the commissioner. Hubli Dharwad commissioner is there, go to him.
He is very tech savvy, security expert is.
Yeah. He himself is snooped many times.
Yeah, okay.
Madam, there's one more last question by our student only, madam.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, tell me, Swapna.
Madam, how does the banking KYC norm help a account holder to safeguard his personal credentials? Despite
Very good. See, that's why law students know more about this. KYC, know your customer. I told you one example. I went to a private bank. I wanted to open an account. That person asked me in KYC what is necessary is in being yourself introduced to the bank. Isn't it? Isn't it? So a person who is already a account holder should introduce you, or the person who is employee in a bank should introduce you, or someone who is prestigious person, on MLA, MP should introduce you to the bank. Now what is happening? This is not at all necessary. You just go and give your details with your Aadhaar card, okay? With your PAN card, your account is opened immediately. Immediately. So KYC, does it help us from preventing this crime? Friends, it is entirely different matter. This is entirely. Only one thing is what we can know. If the fraudster has scooped up our money and he has opened a account in some bank through KYC, very easy to trace him. Very easy to trace him. But if he has not done with the KYC, you know what happens? Fake ID cards are created. Aadhaar cards are fake, PAN cards are fake. All fake things are created and accounts are opened. These money goes to those fake accounts. How to find these people? Who is responsible then? It is the banks again. Because Banking Regulation Act is very clear in that. If such things happens, banks are absolutely liable for opening wrong accounts. So they should be very careful while opening an account. And if they don't take care, we know the liability of the collecting banker, liability of the receiving banker, both. In that way, they become liable.
all the questions are done for today, madam.
Okay.
Yes,
One Miss Sandhya, last question. Miss Sandhya?
yeah, Vasudev, madam.
Yeah.
Sandhya, madam. Hello.
I think she's not there. Okay, carry on, Swapna.
Okay. Thank you, Chandrika ma'am, for such an informative and effective session. Now I request our beloved principal of G. College, Hubballi, Srimati Dr. Residential remarks. Over to you, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Chandrika, for your enlightening and wonderful speech and creating awareness about various types of cyber crimes that may be committed, especially with respect to banks. It was really a wonderful and educative speech. I myself being very much interested, keenly interested in this, I'll be keenly observing what kind of crimes are committed, and our technology is developing so fast that even though I feel, even though we have a number of legislations nowadays, I have started feeling that it is the technology only is the answer to solve the problems, not the law. More than law, technology can solve the problems. That's how we are coming out with new technologies like blockchain technology and all, which will again, and there are so many softwares or the programs which will prevent such kinds of criminal activities. So in this connection, you have given us a very a lot of information which will be useful for all of our participants. Since this COVID-19 and the outbreak of Corona and lockdown, the cyber crimes have increased. So we thought it is very apt time or proper time to organize the lecture on this particular topic. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation. And
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I should thank you people for giving me this opportunity. Thank you, one and all. Thank
okay.
you, friends.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Over to you, Chaitali.
Shraddha ma'am. Now I request our Professor Srimati Preeti J. Kasturi ma'am to deliver vote of thanks. Over to you, ma'am.
Respected all, it's my privilege to propose gratitude on this occasion. I, on behalf of KLE Societies, GK Law College, Hubballi, and on my own behalf, extend our warm thanks to our distinguished speaker, Dr. M.P. Chandrika, Principal, SC Nandimat Law College, Bhagalpur, for gracing the occasion with her thought-provoking address. Thank you, ma'am, for the informative session. I also express our profound gratitude to our beloved principal, Dr. Sharda G. Patil, for the constant support and encouragement throughout. Thank you, ma'am. I take this occasion to thank the coordinating faculty, staff members, and students for all your cooperation and endeavors. And also, I would like to once again acknowledge our gratitude to all the dignitaries and participants for attending the webinar. Thank you, one and all. Over to Chaitali.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Preeti ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Nice
And
day.
I thank one and all for attending. Feedback link will be active until 5 p.m. today. So e-certificates will be provided for all the webinars individually for all the sessions. Thank you one and all once again.
Thank you, Chandrika.
Thank you, dear. Thank you. Bye. Bye. Nice day.
Thank you.
Shall I end the meeting?
का नाम नाकाबिले तारीफ काबिले केवल निकलता था तो तारीफ सामने नेवर की एग्जाम नाकाबिले